Agent Molt in Light Duties Part 2. Molt made his way to the office again. He'd done all the paperwork on the Cleopatra's Needle episode and was expecting some follow-up work to come his way. His stomach was playing him up again. He'd been twinging on and off ever since the flapjack incident. Supervisor Cricks, the skink administrator, didn't even look up when Molt entered. "Molt, you're doing a tour of the rest of the nation's psychic sumps. After the crack at the needle, we want you to check out the other 9 of them. Glasgow first." Molt blinked. "All 9? "Yes, all 9. Try not to break anything. Again." Cricks flicked a form at him with his tongue. "And Molt, don't antagonise the ghosts. They're planning something. I can feel it in my tail." Molt sighed. Suffering syphilis. He trudged to the station via the quartermaster's office to pick up a holder containing 9 psychic sump siphons disguised as traffic cones. Molt boarded the first train he saw at Paddington. Destination irrelevant, line irrelevant, operator irrelevant. His stomach grumbled. Not really hunger, just some leftover pain from the portal that had tried to form there on a previous case. That damned cursed flapjack. He was able to turn his stomach inside out, a cool lizard trick not recommended for mammals. It cast a quick dispel spell, but the mycelium still took it out of him. That's why he was on supposed light duties now. Molt had his standard department-issued train ticket, access to any station in the country, fast, no charge. He felt wary about using it. The journey always made his stomach do flip-flops in the past, and he was worried how it would affect him in his weakened state. The department's rail-fold enchantment worked like this. You wrote the station you wanted on the ticket stub. The train you were on would pull out of the station, and the moment the last carriage left the station, reality warps. For one impossible second, every train in Britain becomes the same train. Then reality snaps back, and the traveller finds themselves on whatever train is currently pulling into whichever station they've written on the ticket, regardless of timetable, geography, or common sense. Mostly this means arriving instantly. Sometimes it meant arriving 3 hours later because the only train to that station ran twice a day. For the traveller, it always felt like they blinked and then they were there. The world hiccuped. Lights flickered, and suddenly he was on a train gliding into Glasgow Queen Street. The ticket always reverted to its unwritten form after use, ready for the next journey. "At least I never had to visit the buffet car," Molt muttered. Small mercies. There was another much bigger mercy. His stomach actually felt much better somehow. The Glasgow sump was located inside the Duke of Wellington's statue. The Duke stood proudly outside the Gallery of Modern Art at the junction of Queen Street and Ingram Street with his traffic cone hat. The statue had been erected in 1844 and by quaint Scottish tradition had almost always worn a traffic cone chapeau ever since their invention in 1958. A civic tradition Molt respected deeply. Of course, most cones were just cones, but it was his task to clamber up and place a department's psychic sump drain onto it to siphon off all the negative energy. Normally he'd use an invisibility talisman, but after the last one he'd used blipped out mid-use, he decided to clamber this one just under a glamour cliff disguise. None of the mammals would bat an eyelid. Climbing the statue was practically de rigueur around here. Molt climbed the plinth, startling the cat that watched him from between the horse statue's legs. He swapped the cone and set the diffuser humming. The sump vented. The psychic smog it gave off seemed darker than normal, more tar-like. Something about the temperament of Scottish ghosts always made them more potent, but this seemed like more than that. Maybe Crix's tale is onto something, he mused. At this point, the ghostly Victorian gin girl he first met yesterday at Cleopatra's Needle materialised beside him, dead pigeon dangling. "Got any gin?" "No, not today." She whisked away. That was odd, Molt thought. Had she followed him from London somehow? Then a second ghost appeared, a Strathclyde Brittonic tribal spirit, muttering in a language older than the city. It remonstrated at him loudly. Molt nodded politely. "I've no idea what you're saying." It drifted off. The cone finally finished churning up all the negative energy and pinged its completion. As Molt removed it, the statue gave out a faint click. Molt winced. That's not good. A hairline crack had appeared on the Duke's head. He covered it up with a normal traffic cone and scuttled down. The cat was still in its space, regarding him coldly. Brrr. Cats gave him the creeps. He'd seen one pounce on a gecko in Spain once. Poor thing had no chance. He always thought the cats were sizing him up, considering its options when everyone looked at him. On his way back to the station, he heard a piper playing on Buchanan Street, a tune that sounded like 1,000 out-of-rhythm cats, all singing a different song. This was normal for bagpipes as he understood it, but he detected something else in the wail, a banshee shriek layered over the melody. Molt groaned. A banshee? Here? How did she manage to wander off the Irish moors? Molt ran into an off-licence and purchased a half bottle of Irish whiskey, much to the proprietor's chagrin. He approached the piper, who was blissfully unaware his instrument was possessed by a wandering Irish malevolent spirit who had clearly taken a wrong turn at Holyhead. He poured half of the liquid into a drain before coaxing the banshee into the bottle. Poor thing must have got lost, Molt muttered, tightening the lid. The piper's plan improved somewhat after that. Molt boarded another train. The world hiccuped. Every train became one. Then he was suddenly on a service pulling into York. His stomach began to throb, the second trip flaring up his issues. He never trusted York. Something about it always made his scales itch. He always took that as a sign, but he had no idea what of. Minutes later, he was on the flat roof of the Jorvik Centre, the Viking sump. The cone sat on the roof guttering. The sump vented. The gin girl and the Brittonic tribal ghost from Glasgow both reappeared. Most odd. Got any gin? She inquired. No, he stated. The Glaswegian ghost gas-bagged in Gaelic, and he told it to piss off, which it duly did. Then another ghost erupted out of the cone, a Viking berserker, roaring in Old Norse. He saw Molt's scales. He froze. He stepped back warily. Draken! He bellowed reverently. Molt didn't understand, but guessed he'd been called a dragon. I've got some Komodo dragon on my mother's side, he muttered. The Viking ghost whisked away, babbling in a language Molt couldn't understand as it went. Molt sighed. It wasn't unusual for ghosts to show up at eventing, but 3 out of 3? And to have the ghost attach themselves and follow? Well, that was unheard of as far as he was aware. The Jorvik Centre roof gave a click as yet another sump developed a crack. Curiouser and curiouser, Molt mumbled, not to mention scarier and scarier too. He hated to think what might happen if all the sumps suddenly failed. Another train, another hiccup, another reality fold. Molt found himself stepping off at Bath Spa. His stomach felt amazing afterwards. He sat on a wall and ate a bag of delicious grubs. He soon found himself at the Roman Baths, historic site and location of the Bath sump. Perched on the roof of the great baths, the sump vented, Molt eyeing it with trepidation. His fears were answered as every ghost he'd seen on his job reappeared. The thirsty gin girl and the dead pigeon companion, the angry Brittonic tribal ghost, and the Viking berserker dragon fancier. Got any gin? No. Angry Brittonic bellowing. Piss off. Viking or Draken! Yes, on my mother's side. Then another new ghost appeared, a togaless Roman bathhouse bather, dripping spectral water and cursing in Latin. It wagged its finger in Molt's direction. Abiet fug ad inferos, Molt ordered. It whisked away slowly. Its ghost bum was the last thing to dissipate. Molt pondered if it did this on purpose. Crick. Yet again the sump cracked ever so slightly. This was not good. Not good at all. Molt sat cross-legged on the roof with quill and scroll writing up his report. He detailed all his findings, the banshee, ghosts who appeared and subsequently followed, the cracks. He finished up with a request for a can of Ghost Begone spray, preferably 2. He rolled the scroll up tightly and whispered the chant to make it send. His words would instantly reappear on a twin scroll at headquarters. He rubbed his temples. Suffering syphilis.